What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dad Needs to Talk. I'm your host, Robert, and today we're gonna be just doing a little bit of catch up because it's been a couple of weeks, including just talking about a couple of games and shows I've still been catching up on, and we're primarily gonna be diving into the spring anime that I've been enjoying so far this year. So, as always, I hope everybody out there is doing well. Like I said, it has been a couple of weeks at this point. I don't know, time be flying. But before I get into all that, as I always say, if this is your first time here, then welcome. But if you're a returning listener and or watcher, then welcome back. Y'all know here at Daddy's to Talk, it's all about fatherhood and family, manga, anime, TV shows, movies, and of course, some video games. So, like I said, it has been a few weeks. Time just be a blur. And last week was pretty much like mental survival mode because one of my main guys at work was out all week on vacation, and then I got another guy going to be out this coming week. So, and of course, things always happen when I'm short a person, and it's like, oh yeah, we had a couple shipments of new equipment come in. I'm getting other specialty requests for different things to be done on site. So I was ripping and running like crazy this week or whatever. So it was pretty much just make it through the day, rest, do the family stuff, whatever. Like I didn't really even barely watch any shows and anything else, whatever in between. But I definitely made up for it this weekend, as I will get into in a little bit. But um, I'm trying to think because I think last time I did like a main episode was before we went to San Antonio. So that trip overall went good. Like I said, it was me, my wife, my oldest son, and one of his teammates. Nice move, 4 hours, 5 hour drive, including stopping for eating and stuff, whatever. But overall, nice trip. Ate some. My wife found a really good, uh, kind of like a Jamaican soul food place. Actually, let me see if I can find the name. Okay, yeah. So it was called Mama Loves Soul and Caribbean Food. So myself, I had got some, and this is like from like the Google images, but uh, I had just got like some wings. I think I had got wings, shrimp, mac and cheese, and yams, and that was good. But my wife, she had got some oxtails with some yams. I can't remember what her other side was, but man, like that food was so freaking good. So hey, that Dad Needs to Talk recommendation. Like I said, it's called Mama Loves Soul Food and Loves Soul and Caribbean Food. So yeah, so go check that out if you're ever in San Antonio. What is this? 2427 Austin Highway, San Antonio. So go check it out. Like I said, some really, really good food. But yeah, overall, nice, fun, solid trip. And then aside from that, we pretty much just been, like I said, I've been in survival mode with work and stuff. And then yeah, we're coming up on the last week of school. Which, as I've mentioned before, in years past would be a time for celebration, but nothing much is really going to change because, like, most of the older kids all have some type of like camp or training, of course, that they are doing majority of the summer and stuff. So it's like, there will still be. I still got to get up early, and regardless to go to work, so ain't nothing changing for me. Only thing is that I'll be able to get to work earlier, just because I don't have to stop at a million schools to drop off a million kids. but uh, but yeah, because in years past when they were itty bitty and didn't have as much stuff going on, it'll be like, oh yeah, countdown, final week of school, because within a week or two, or whatever, y'all going out to your great grandma's house, and we'll see you in August. But that is no longer the case. Like I said, I've talked about this plenty of times over the years on the podcast, but yeah, it was like when, especially before Vash was born, when it was just the older four. Oh yeah, they had little to nothing going on. Oh yeah, they was gone for at least a good. I think originally it was probably like probably like almost like the full 2 months or so. Obviously, we would go out there to restock supplies, like we in like Fallout or whatever, going to restock the shelter or whatever. But yeah, it's just the nature of the business and family life and kids getting older, getting involved with more stuff, whatever. It went from everybody's gone all summer to okay, majority of y'all are gone to okay, half of y'all to nobody's gone, and then the person they were going to stay with, she now lives with us. So it's like, yeah, but it is what it is. But yeah, I do kind of talk with my wife sometimes. I'm like, man, I really do you know, miss those days just because it was just kind of a chance to for us to recharge. Um Sorry to get my camera stuff refocused. But yeah, it was just a time for us to just kind of really get a chance to like recharge our energy and stuff, whatever, and have some time for just me and her to do some stuff, whatever, and to just kind of chill and regroup, whatever. Because it's like now it's like we're always in it all the time, whatever and stuff. So, but it is what it is. It's the nature of the beast. But yeah. So final week of school, heading into that. And yeah, aside from that, like I said, nothing else too crazy going on. I do want to say a belated happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there that might listen to the podcast and stuff. Um, those of y'all that have been listening for a long time, I always have. It's always a mixed bag of emotions for me with Mother's Day now because obviously it's like on the positive. Obviously, I'm celebrating my wife and other women in my family that are mothers, including this year. I got to celebrate like my two oldest nieces became first time mothers within the last year. My oldest niece became a mother last August, and which is my brother's oldest daughter, and then my sister's oldest daughter, she became a mother just a few months ago in January. And so it is like those type of things I love celebrating. But of course, on the flip side, which is kind of the whole crux of me starting this podcast 4 years ago. Yeah, um, is that no now my own mother and my sister um, aren't here and stuff. So, but yeah, so it's just always a mixed bag of feelings day. But like I said, just happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there that might be listening. And like I say, cherish those moments. To any listeners out there that still have their mother or mother figure in their life, whatever, celebrate it. Just because time, moments are not always promised. So, going on from that, yeah, like I said, today I'm primarily going to be diving into some spring anime stuff. But before I get into that, and of course, if you want to skip ahead, check the timestamps, whatever. But just a couple of little small things I just want to just shout out real quick. So, just because it's been a couple weeks, but I still just want to just mention it briefly, whatever. But it's like I think like the weekend after I had last did a full episode or whatever, when I went to San Antonio, or whatever, that's when we got the delay of GTA 6, which got delayed a whole year to freaking the end of May of next year. So May 26, 2026. It's like, man, it's like we're not even at May 26th of this year. But yeah, so it got delayed, and then a few days later, they gave us a brand new trailer and stuff, whatever, which the game looked freaking stunning. But it is what it is. It's the nature of the beast. But yeah, that got delayed. It's a bunch of funky stuff going on with Bungie and Marathon, with them like stealing some artwork from a online artist and stuff that's going on. I'm trying to think, feel like it was like something else that I just wanted to shout out, but I don't know. It's kind of probably irrelevant at this point. Like so much stuff has happened over these last couple of days. Just looking. Doom to the Dark Ages is out for those of y'all that are interested in that. Switch 2 is a couple weeks away. So kind of excited and interested to see how that goes in this current uh, budget and climate of the world and stuff. But yeah, other than that, yes, it's not too much other stuff going on. I will just mention briefly while I'm talking about games. I've still been playing Expedition 33. Like, man, like earlier this week, I kind of was fearing that I was starting to kind of like lose momentum with it. And it was kind of making me sad because of how much I have loved the game. So, just for context, I am in Act 3 of the game, and I'm about 45 or so hours in. I was laughing because my wife was like, she was watching me playing earlier, and she was like, man, this game is pretty long. And I'll say for me, because like I mentioned before, in recent times, it's like I don't really get much time to play games or whatever nowadays, and especially something that hey, they can hold my attention for this long. Because that's why I enjoy South of Midnight because hey, I finished that in a week because it was like 10 to 12 hours or so roughly. So yeah, so I don't really get to invest a lot of time, especially in bigger games, but that's just a testament to the game. But like I said, I was kind of fearing. I was like, cause I try to play it. I think it was like a couple days this past week, where I got to play maybe like 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, and I was like, man, am I kind of like starting to like lose disconnect with it or whatever? And no, that's not the case. It was literally just because I was so tired and exhausted from everything I was doing at work and then having to go come home from work and do, normal dad stuff, whatever, that the little bits and chunks I was playing because of the area and stuff I was in also at the time, it felt like I wasn't it felt like I kind of like hit a brick wall where it's like, man, I'm not making much progress anymore. I'm not leveling up too much, whatever. But no, like that easily got wiped away. Like once it got to Friday and especially Saturday, because my wife handled my oldest son's tournament this weekend or whatever, which he ended up only playing just Friday night and then a couple games Saturday. So she went into those, which freed me up to just kind of stay home and just be able to like recuperate from the crazy work week I had, and that I got to actually dive into the game fully with full undivided attention for hours at a time instead of just 15 30 minutes here, 15 30 minutes there, like late at night after a long day, or oh early in the morning before I get everybody up for school and stuff. And it was like, okay, nope, I'm right back in it or whatever, and I've put in, a handful more hours over this weekend. But yeah, just wanted to shout out that game because it's like I'm 45 hours in, and I'm still discovering new locations, fighting new creatures and new enemy types. Still seeing more story and stuff for the world unfolding. So, but yeah, really, really loving the game. So just had to just shout out and mention that I am still making my way through Expedition 33 on that front. All right, and last little thing I want to just shout out really quickly, just because I'm not going to dive into any of this stuff, just want to just shout it out. A couple of quick manga things, whatever, before we dive into the spring anime stuff. So over the last couple of weeks, it's been a couple of interesting little updates that have happened over on, primarily with like Viz and Shonen Jump stuff. So for one, on the Shonen Jump side, so we got a new manga called Otir of the Flame, which is by the author Yuki Kawaguchi. Which, if you do not know the name, which I'm not, you wouldn't be too surprised, whatever. This is the guy who was the author of the manga The Hunters Guild Red Hood. One of the first new series I covered back when I first began the podcast in 2021. That is just like so crazy to kind of think about. Actually, let me see Red Hood. Red Hood. Yeah, July 5th, 2021. Back when I was still numbering my podcast episodes, episode 17. Oh, yeah, Neru, the martial artist, the Hunters Guild, Red Hood, and the Odd Taxi. Classic episode, classic episode. But yeah, but anyway, so unfortunately, that series met a early fate and got canceled. But the art in it and the world and promise was so good that we all hoped that this Arthur would come back and get another chance. And here they are. We have 2 chapters now. It comes out every Sunday. Basically follows the flame of a young cook burns brightly in this Viking manga. So yeah, so might be one, like I said, kind of keeping on his radar. I'm gonna kind of give it several chapters, kind of like let's see where it goes. But the first couple chapters have been okay. Nothing that immediately is like, oh yeah, which I think is like with me looking back on Hunter's Guild Red Hood, it was just like wow, just like immediately out the gate. This one, I think, because it is a little bit more, there is still some like fantastical stuff happening with like these like elemental spirits and stuff, whatever. But with this being within like a Viking setting or whatever, it grounds it a bit more. Versus Hunter's Guild was kind of more based on like fables and storybook stuff, whatever. Which that added a different sense to it. But anywho, just want to put that on people's radar. Like I said, it comes out every Sunday. I don't think nothing else major on there. And then on the Viz manga side, so we actually just got a big update like an hour ago from me recording this. Cosmos has been added to Shonen Jump, or to the Viz manga side of things. Now, Cosmos is a series that has been on my radar for a while, and the first volume of it is coming out this week, but they have the first 4 chapters, which would make up volume 1, are already out on the app. Unfortunately, we got this little gap of chapters, and then they're going to be updating new stuff going forward from there. But yeah, very excited to see that. Same thing with this one, this Rah Rah Rah. This is one I think I talked about probably last year or something, where when it got announced as far as like a manga that got picked up. Um, so it says a struggling space pest exterminator undergoes a shocking transformation after being abducted by aliens. And so I mentioned back then, I was like just looking at the cover and stuff. It kind of gave me like Doro Hidoro slash Die Dark vibe. So I'm excited to check this out. I'll probably maybe read the first 3 chapters and see how it goes. But that's also been getting updated and stuff. Um, and yeah, so always some new manga coming out and stuff worth checking out. But yeah, so I think let's go ahead and get ready to dive into these spring anime. Okay. Oh, and last little note. Speaking of manga stuff, I had did a quick little review or like early impressions of a manga I've been reading called War of the Adults. So go check that out. All right, so jumping over to spring anime. So, the last couple of days, I have had time to finally start catching up on some stuff because, like I said, with how busy the last couple of weeks with us traveling a little bit and work and stuff, whatever, I kind of fell behind on a few shows, whatever. So I had the chance over the last few days to kind of start diving in and catching up on some stuff. And so I was like, okay, perfect timing. We're like on episode 6 and 7 on most things. So I was like, this perfect time to catch up and share some thoughts on it or whatever. So as far as I'll just kind of get this out the way real quick. As far as like some of like the like returning slash more well known stuff, Fire Force, I'm not watching that week to week, simply because I already read the manga. I know what's coming, what's going on, or whatever. But I am excited to see lots of very cool moments, animated and stuff, between this part of the season and then the second half coming in January of next year. So that's it with that. The Apothecary Diaries continues to be must watch TV for me every weekend. Uh, that show continues to stay at such a high quality bar. And just like I don't know, like it just does so well with the characters and expanding the worldview and stuff. Because even though she's Mao Mao has kind of been within this inner palace thing, whatever, it's such a big space. Like it's like, of course, like when you look at it on the map, it might be a small part of like a country, whatever, so to speak. But within this area, there's so much to explore, so many characters and different things. But yeah, so just shout out to Apothecary Diaries. Like if y'all enjoy kind of like drama type of stuff, then this is definitely drama mystery type of stuff. Then that's one that I highly, supremely highly recommend. And then let me see, Windbreakers. I caught up on that because I think I had only watched maybe like one episode, one or two episodes, and so I think I'm one episode behind now because the new episode came out the other day. But I had watched, I think it was 3 through 6, and really enjoyed it. Like for as much as I like all like the flashy action stuff, whatever, this show also does really well, just kind of just like highlighting these different characters. And it was nice kind of getting to see kind of a little bit more, getting a little bit more in the mindset and things with Sakura, and basically like different things he's gone through in the past and how that's kind of affecting how he tries to approach or bear all the weight and responsibility for different things. But I really have enjoyed seeing the different characters around him rally behind him and be like, yo, dude, hey, I don't know what stuff you had to deal with before, but hey, we are legit here to help you and support you and all these different things. So very awesome. And also had a really cool episode with some side characters a couple episodes ago or whatever that I was not expecting with if the this elderly couple that they were kind of helping out, so to speak. If you know, you know. But but yeah, so good stuff on Windbreaker. Um, I think that's it as far as like continuing stuff. Oh, I will shout out also. I haven't been keeping up with it. I watched just a couple episodes. I need to update this. But My Hero Academia Vigilantes, like the quality of those first couple episodes, and then like the conversation I've continued to see with what's going on since then or whatever, I'm super happy because I've mentioned before that Vigilantes was um, during kind of like a era where the main My Hero Academia manga was not really hitting or doing much for me or whatever. Vigilantes kind of filled in that spot for me of showing a different side of this world uh, with some characters I kind of grew to really enjoy and want to root for and stuff. So yeah, so just wanted to shout that out. All right, so now on to the newer stuff. So top of the food chain for me, must watch. Previously Sunday mornings before I realized that they released this Saturday nights. To Be Hero X. This show, we are 7 episodes in. Each episode has been gripping and phenomenal. So basically, the setup and premise of this show, it basically starts off following, and I don't even want to speak too much on it or whatever, just because of I feel like this is a show that everybody should check out, but just kind of give a little bit of context, whatever. Basically, it takes place in a world of heroes where the people who have powers and abilities, those are gained through literally people's trust. So people's trust value determines sometimes like what type of ability they have, how strong that is. The more people trust you, the stronger you are, yada yada yada. But there are some uh, faults with that or whatever, and it kind of shows in a way, and I feel like it probably would be like this in real life, like the power of social media, whether it be on the positive side as well as the negatives with how people can manipulate or how quickly people can turn on you or whatever of like, oh, a rumor or something starts coming out about a person or something gets revealed and it's like, oh, nope, now we hate this person, or okay, yeah, we rally behind this person, or whatever. So I know that sounds very vague, but this is, like I said, this has been must watch priority, even with how busy and stuff I've been this last month or so, whatever. This is one of the few shows that is like, hey, without fail, I am making time for this Saturday night, Sunday morning, whatever come first, or whatever time slot I can get to, whatever. But yeah, and I'll just say visually, just just at least watch episode one because it does some very fun and interesting things with the art style and art direction. And like I said, I'll kind of leave it there. But yeah, To Be Hero X, it is planned to be 24 episodes, so it's gonna be going on for most of the summer through, you know, uh, August, September, or whatever. So yeah, so check it out. Very awesome show. Uh, Next up, Sword of the Demon Hunter Kijin Gintosho. Now, this is one that I actually read a little bit of the manga for maybe a year or so ago, and I liked what I read of that first volume. Though I don't think I ever got around to recording anything separate for it or whatever. But because I think when I heard it was gonna get an anime, I was like, okay, I like what I read, but I'm not uh, in it enough to where I want to keep reading right now. I'll just check it out with the anime. So anyway, so the anime is here. First episode was an hour or so. And so this one basically takes place in the Edo period where it basically follows this guy who grew up as an orphan with his little sister. His little sister ended up I can't remember the full context for it, but basically his little sister ends up being part demon. Like, oh, this sounds a little bit familiar, like Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Demon Slayer. But I will say things kind of get a little bit more. For one, things are a little bit more grounded in a sense, to where obviously, like I said, you're still fighting demons and different things like that or whatever, but it doesn't have like the crazy powers and abilities. Well, I say that, but I would say it's not maybe like as flashy as like Demon Slayer is, whatever. So, but anyway, and this one definitely deals consistently with more grown up and adult characters and stuff. But anywho, long story short, the main character grew up as an orphan with his younger sister, whatever, got taken in, and when he gets a little bit older, he ends up becoming a demon hunter protecting this maiden. Something goes horribly wrong. Demon stuff happens, and basically he ends up on a many years journey, is what I would call it, to hunt down somebody, hunt down a demon, uh, because it is a very personal situation, and I will leave it vague like that. Um, but yeah, but like I said, it is just one that I would say like the first episode um gets your attention by the very end. And then that maybe like second episode or so, whatever, was kind of don't know. But when I had watched episodes 3 through 6 the other day, loved them just because we kind of got a little bit more uh, world building, character growth from side characters and stuff. And so, because at first I was like, okay, it's going to be kind of demon of the week, so to speak, whatever. But some of these things and situations that crop up or whatever that are like, oh, okay, I think I know where this is gonna go or whatever, and I kind of get expectations subverted in a good way. So, but yeah, but sort of the Demon Hunter, Kenji Gintosho, one worth checking out. This one is streaming on High Dive, which I think is also why it's not getting much attention and stuff, whatever. And the cover art looks a little bit generic-ish or whatever, but like I said, it's one worth keeping your eye out on and checking out. Another one that same thing. The first episode really gets your attention, and then I was kind of like, okay, I don't know about this, but same thing. I got a chance to watch episodes 3 through 6, and was really surprised. So this one is Apocalypse Hotel. So this one, I would say, had a probably one of like the more striking starts of of um of some of the shows I've watched this season, to where it basically kind of does like a I kind of equate to like a Fallout, like the video game slash TV show Fallout, where like you kind of see these kind of like oh, fun looking uh people slash robot things in a hotel, clean up, yada yada yada, but then dispersed within that, you get glimpses of what happened in the fall of humanity, to where it's just like these also kind of reminds me of how the beginning of The Last of Us was as well, where during like the introduction of everything, whatever, you're kind of getting bits and pieces of a time lapse of like, oh, okay, it seems like things are kind of starting, something weird is kind of going on, whatever. All right, hey, things is happening. All right, hey, we got to evacuate the planet. And so that is pretty much what it is humanity pretty much evacuated Earth. So following the collapse of civilization, one storied hotel stands among the ruins of Tokyo's Ginza district. Overrun by nature, this lone hotel continues to defy humanity's collapse. Current guests zero, check-ins scheduled today zero, etc., etc. And so basically, this is a hotel run by robots and androids. Uh, and they do a daily routine where they go through, do a full sweep, and clean up, change the sheets, everything every day, even though they have not had any guests at this hotel for hundreds of years at this point. Um, and even just that alone, there's a little bit of like unsettlingness to it, because there are some like fun and goofy moments in this show, especially like in that first episode or whatever. But then it's like it's kind of a messed up situation. These robots just keeping this hotel going, even though they haven't had nobody show up in 100 plus years. They're waiting for humanity to return, so they're maintaining the hotel. But the fun and interesting thing I would say with this show is we do eventually start getting guests, but they are definitely not the type of guests you would expect. But that's what kind of makes this show fun and interesting to watch. Cause like I said, it definitely, like I said, it has some funny moments in it or whatever, but it also does have some like really heartwarming and enduring moments and stuff in it as well. So, but yeah, Apocalypse Hotel, that one's on Crunchyroll as well. Uh, what else? Okay, yeah, here are the next couple I want to touch on, or the next few. So I'm gonna get these tabs open. Whoops. Okay, so let's see, which one is this? All right, so Kowloon Generic Romance. Now, Kowloon is one that was kind of on my radar for a while, because this is a series, like I've mentioned plenty of times over the years, where the manga covers always got my attention anytime I was at Barnes and Nobles or whatever bookstore and just browsing through or whatever. I would always, almost always, glance at the covers for Kowloon just because it was like, it's like, okay, like who is this lady on the cover smoking a cigarette with one hand and then has a slice of watermelon in the other hand? It's like, okay, like what is this? But so the synopsis for this is: Welcome to Kowloon Walled City, a dystopian townscape where the people are brimming with nostalgia and where the past, present, and future converge. Amid the hidden emotions and extraordinary daily lives of the men and women working in its confines, a tale of romance begins to unfold for a real estate agent, Reiko Kujira, one that feels familiar as Kowloon itself. Now, I will say a big thing of this is that this is at its core, it is there is a little bit of there is romance at the core of this, but it is also tangled within a very intriguing mystery. Simply because from the beginning things seem a little bit off, a little bit out of place, whatever, to where it's like, okay, our main character, she seems to have like she's like missing some memories or whatever, but other people around her seem to know her or know of her. And so the way things have kind of been unfolding and getting revealed over these episodes, definitely some things I was not expecting. But I think that, like I said, that's kind of one of the been like one of like the fun and interesting parts of the show. So it's classified as like drama, mystery, romance, sci-fi, slice of life. So a lot of things wrapped up in a nice little package. But yeah, Kowloon generic romance. Wanted to check out. Like I said, some of these I'm sorry for being so vague on, but some of them are more worth kind of like watching to get like the better context of it or whatever. I just kind of want to at least try to like get you in the door. But yeah, so Kowloon. All right, let's see. Next up, from Old Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman. So this is one that I did talk about last year. I read the first volume of the manga last year. Really enjoyed it. So basically, this one follows a older guy named Beryl who lives in this backwater village, as they call it in the show, a small backwater village where he runs a dojo, training students and kids and stuff, whatever. And he doesn't. He feels like he's not that big of a deal or whatever. That he's okay with the sword and yada yada yada. But the thing though is that all like pretty much like majority of his former students go on to become top ranked adventurers, elite wizards, top level knights, and all that stuff, whatever. And so one day, one of his former students, who is now the head of like the royal army or whatever, she enlists him to kind of help come and train the royal army. And so throughout this process, he starts to run into and reunite with a lot of his former students who have now grown up and, like I said, have made a name for themselves in their own right. And that has just kind of been like the fun part of the show for me is seeing all these students that adore this man support him and push him, and we kind of start to continuously see glimpses of his greatness because it's like nah, you are as good as people say you are, whatever. He just doesn't have that self-confidence in himself, but when it's time for him to go into action or whatever, he locks in. And it is just like pretty dope to see. And one other thing about the show that I appreciate is that there is very little fluff. And what I mean by that is that like example, there was a situation where somebody had been okay, so I'll just give a scenario or whatever. So he was out walking through town one day. Uh, this younger person basically tried to bump into him and try to steal his money or whatever. He caught them, whatever. Long story short, they meet back up later on or whatever. And he finds out that this person was stealing because they were in a situation where they needed money to pay back this thing for a sibling and yada yada yada. Normally in a lot of shows, okay, hey, this would be a little side arc that would probably go on for at least 2, maybe 3 episodes or whatever. And it was like, nope, in one episode, it was like, okay, we got the introduction, y'all bumped into each other, whatever. And then by the end of the episode, y'all had done found out what's going on, did your investigating. These characters like, hey, one of the characters like, all right, we not beating around the bush. All right, where's the hideout? I'm going in through the front door because I'm a beast. Not Barrow saying this, but somebody he was working with was like, hey, we're going through the front door. Just going through the front door, knock everybody out, find the main bad guy. All right, this issue is wrapped up. I love that about the show is that it's like, hey, there's a little problem or a little inconvenience or whatever. No biggie. Let's wrap this up and move on. So, but yeah, so from Old Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman, a nice little palate cleanser, I guess I would say, comfort watch show. Okay, the next one is the Two Perfect Saint, tossed aside by my fiance and sold to another kingdom. That is a mouthful to say. But uh this show, this is one of those ones. I think I probably maybe heard the name of the manga or a light novel of Two Perfect Saint, but never looked into it too much or whatever. But basically, so just reading the synopsis. Philia's family has produced saints for generations. It's no surprise that she's known as the greatest saint of all time and set to marry the second prince, Julius. What nobody expects is for Julius to call off the engagement, claiming that Philia's perfection makes her charmless and unlikable, and he ends up selling her off to the neighboring country, and other stuff happens from there. Um, this is another one that is just like really good with the characters to where you have a character, Philia, who she basically grew up basically being trained to more or less have like little to no emotions and to just always do her duty or whatever. And it's about her kind of rediscovering her self confidence, her self worth through this other kingdom that she got sold to, and meeting people who actually care about her as a person and kind of helping her see that, like, hey, the situation you came from, they were basically taking advantage of you or whatever. You were overworking yourself and different little things like that. So it kind of has a nice feel good vibe to it, but also with a little bit of a drama and stuff going on because of stuff still happening in her previous kingdom or whatever, where she still has a younger sister. They're doing some stuff, whatever. So, bam. So, Two Perfect Saint. This is another one that has been a good watch. This was one that I kind of let a few episodes build up, but it's a good one. And let's see, next up, oh yeah, The Brilliant Healers, New Life in the Shadows. Now, this is a show I will say, episode 1 was not it. Simply because it feels like that episode, at least I'll say the first half of the first episode, feels like it either should have been not put there or should have come later on in the show. Just because the way it kind of just starts off, uh, it kind of starts you off like in the middle of some stuff going on, and then like I said, you kind of start getting introduced to stuff like towards like the end of the first episode, and then the second episode feels like it should have been the first episode. But I'm rambling on. I ain't even said what this is. So basically, the synopsis for this. So basically, it follows a healer named Xenos, a self-taught healer from the slums, turns despair into defiance and opens a secret clinic in the city shadows. So basically, it follows this guy. Like I said, Zeno, he is a unlicensed healer, who had some mysterious master when he was a child. We still don't know too much about that yet, but it kind of gives me a little bit of vibes of shoot, what was that Hiller show? Uh, the wrong way to use healing magic. That's what I was trying. I was trying to think of the name of that, but it kind of gave me a little bit of vibes of that. Just be on the strength of the main character can definitely do way more than just heal. He can heal you, but he can also throw some hands and stuff. But yeah, so it basically follows him opening up. He gets kicked out of a party, of course, and then ends up meeting this elf girl. They open up this underground clinic, and then he basically ends up uh, working with the different heads of the different underworld factions, and that's kind of like where I'll leave it in a general nutshell. But I've just really enjoyed. I don't know that this is just a comfort watch. Nothing super crazy and special about it, but it's just another one that I've just really enjoyed the characters and stuff. But yeah, so Brilliant Healers, New Life in the Shadows. Like I said, like that first episode was kind of like the weak spot of it, but after that, it's been really good. And I'm happy because this was definitely one that I was looking forward to heading into the season as far as like new shows that I know nothing about. This was a good one. But yeah, other than that, the only other one that I'm kind of keeping up with, but this is just a Rob anime where it's just a comfort watch every week called The Unaware Atelier Meister. Uh, Basically, it just okay. One day, Kurt, a kind-hearted boy, is suddenly kicked out of the hero's party for being "quote unquote" useless. He finds that his aptitude for weapons, magic, and all other combat-related skills is the lowest rank. So he takes odd jobs, repairing castle walls, blah blah blah, and basically all of his like non-combat skills are triple S rank. So it's just like a chill simple slice of life, kind of like an adventure type of show. Like I said, nothing super crazy, but like I said, it is like a weekly comfort watch. So that's really all I can say about that. Now that's primarily it as far as like my spring watches this year. Um, yeah, I had watched the first episode of Once Upon a Witch's Death. Didn't watch any more after that. I might circle back and see if it gets my attention. Aside from that, I'm trying to think. Let me see what else. Lazarus. I watched that first episode. I just was not feeling it, so I stopped watching. The beginning after the end. This is another one I read years ago and did a review about the first however many chapters I read back then. But the animation, the anime itself has not been up to par. So I didn't even bother watching it just because I've heard so many bad things about it. Um, let's see, Witch Watch. I might check that out. Only reason is just because it is by the same author that did Astra Lost in Space, but it's a very different story and type of series. So don't know about that one. Let's see. Was there anything else? I want to check out this Rock is a Lady's Modesty. I haven't watched it. I've heard good things about it. I think Summer Pockets is by the same people who did shoot. Is it Clannad? I think. Um, so I might check that out. There's been some like Licorice Recoil update stuff I haven't checked out yet, so I'll see what that is. Yaiba, I want to check out some more of. That's like a remake from like a late '80s, early '90s series. Um, I still need to finish season 1 of Shoshiman, and I think that is primarily it. I think I had watched episode 1 of this Teogania, did not really do nothing for me. And yeah, I think that is it. I'm just kind of scrolling through this last little bit of stuff. Yeah, I'm at the bottom of the barrel now. Yeah, so bam, so that's pretty much it as far as like I said, like the main things that have my attention for the spring, the spring season. Um, but yeah, so let me know what y'all think about the shows that I mentioned. Are there any that y'all are also or that y'all are also watching or maybe interested in? Aside from that, last thing I just want to mention before I get up out of here is that I have started watching Andor. Now, I remember really liking season one when it came out a few years ago or whatever. And so I was excited for season two. So I was thinking, like, oh, I'll probably watch this week to week or whatever. And then I was like, then I saw that, okay, they're releasing 3 episodes a week, which I'm like, okay. And each episode is like 45 minutes to an hour. And I'm like, yeah, I can't do this right now or whatever. So weeks kept going by. And before I knew it, all 12 episodes are out. And so it was either like late last night or early this morning. I think I might have maybe started watching part of episode one last night, but this morning I woke up unreasonably early for some reason on a freaking Sunday where we had nothing to do. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start watching Andor, and this is definitely one of those shows that really does a great job of just pulling you in, man. Like the characters, the world, the atmosphere, the vibe, the kind of like dark underbelly of everything, these smugglers and different things like that or whatever. Anyway, great show. I think I'm on episode 6 already. So I'm already halfway there. So I look forward to watching the rest of that over the coming days. Um, I need to catch up on Last of Us TV show. Me and my wife had watched the first 2 episodes, whatever, together, and then now here we are. We haven't watched it in like 3 or 4 weeks, or like at least like maybe like 3 weeks or so. But of course, I already played the game, but I still would like to watch the show, whatever, just to see the differences. So I told her I was like, hey, I might watch some of those without you, so we'll see. But I want to catch up on that, and I also want to continue chipping away at the final season of You. So bam. So always plenty of stuff to watch, read, play, lots of stuff to do, whatever. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. Yeah, it's under an hour, so that's good enough for me. I'm just looking through. I don't think there's nothing else anime wise I wanted to touch on. Uh, but yeah, so that's it. So also shout out to I don't know the guy's name, whatever. He doesn't even know I do a podcast, but shout out to my wife's car to get an oil changed earlier today, or whatever. And one of the mechanics, newer guy, whatever. I don't think because I've been going to this shop for almost a decade now. But newer guy, I don't think I've seen him before, whatever. But I was wearing my One Piece wanted poster shirt, and it was funny enough because he was like, "Hey," he was like, uh, what did he say? He was like, "Hey man, do you know if did we get a new chapter or whatever?" Or he was like, "Nice shirt," and I was like, "Oh, thank you." And he was like, "You know, if it did a new chapter come out today or whatever?" Because they open up at 10, which is right when the new chapter is updated or whatever. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I hadn't even checked." And I was like, "Nah, no new chapter or whatever." So we talked about One Piece for a little bit. So it's always cool to meet fellow fans of different series that you enjoy or whatever out in the open like that. I'm glad he didn't say any specific spoilers because for the first time in years, I'm behind on One Piece. I've been week to week for probably like 7, 8 years at this point, almost a decade, if not already a decade. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I just hadn't really been feeling the urge and pull to jump on it every week or whatever. So I let it build up, and I think I'm like 4 or 5 chapters behind now. So, but yeah, but anyway, just shout out to the random dude, mechanic dude, who's an anime fan. But anyway, I'm supposed to get up out of here. As always, thank you so much for watching and or listening. Remember, you can find me everywhere at Danny's to Talk. And as I always say, treat yourself to something nice, read some manga, watch some anime, TV shows, and movies, play some video games, and of course, live your best life. And with that, I am out for the head off to bed. A long work week and final week of school ahead. And I will catch y'all on the next one. Y'all be easy. Peace.